Okay, so picture this. Your company just had its best financial year ever. At the same time, your first new product in over 5 years, the big one everyone was waiting for, completely tanks. That is the wild paradox that faced Supercell, the makers of Clash of Clans. We're going to unpack how a company can hit record profits while its most anticipated game in half a decade crashes and burns.
It's just this crazy split, right? On one side, 2024 was a monster year for them. We're talking 2.8 billion euros in revenue, mostly because their game Brawl Stars saw what the CEO called historic growth. But on the other side, their brand new game, Squad Busters, gets shut down. So, how is that even possible? Well, to get it, you have to understand Supercell's totally radical, kind of upside down company philosophy. In an industry that loves to play it safe with predictable sequels, Supercell's whole structure is designed to do the exact opposite. It's built to get management out of the way of the creative people, all based on this one core belief. The person with the most power should be the one closest to actually making the game.
I mean, how many CEOs do you know whose main goal is to be the least powerful CEO in the entire industry? That's Il Capone for you. He came to believe that in a creative business like gaming, the old top-down management style actually kills success. He figured out that the best games often happened in spite of the management, not because of them. So the whole company is built around this idea of cells. Think of them as these small, totally independent teams of developers who have complete creative control over what they're building. And management's job, it's not to tell them what to do. It's to find great people, give them resources, and then, most importantly, get out of the way.
And this is where it gets really wild. They don't approve game ideas. They approve teams they trust. And those teams have 100% autonomy, including the power to kill their own project. And when a game gets killed, they literally pop champagne to celebrate the failure and what they learned from it. So the big question is, sounds great in theory, but does this whole thing actually work?
Well, that brings us to maybe the most dramatic proof that it can work. The incredible, completely unexpected comeback of Brawl Stars. And this wasn't even a new game. It was an older one that just suddenly, and I mean suddenly, caught fire. In 2024, years after it first launched, Brawl Stars just exploded. We're not talking a little growth here. Key numbers doubled, tripled, in some cases even quadrupled. The CEO himself said he'd never seen anything like it in his entire 25-year career. It was insane. And here's the kicker. This is where you really see that philosophy in action. At the start of the year, company leadership had decided to focus all their big resources on their #1 game, Clash of Clans. Brawl Stars, it was kind of left on its own, with really low expectations and minimal oversight. And you don't have to take my word for it. The team lead for Brawl Stars, Frank Kienberg, said it himself. He credited their massive success directly to this lack of corporate pressure. It gave his team the freedom to experiment, to take some smart, creative risks, and just make better calls for the players. And boy, did it pay off. It was the perfect example of the Supercell culture working exactly like it's supposed to. The least powerful CEO was the last to know, and a team with total freedom delivered a win for the history books. But what happens when that exact same culture of taking risks leads to a very, very different result? And that brings us to the other side of the coin, Squad Busters. This was Supercell's first new game in over 5 years, and it was a project that put their risk-taking philosophy to the ultimate test, right out in the open for everyone to see. You gotta remember, the team's goal was clear right from the start. They wanted to be bold. They wanted to finally launch a new game and avoid that analysis paralysis that can keep projects in development forever. They knew it was a big risk, but they felt it was a risk the company absolutely had to take. So they went all in. The game launched with a massive ad campaign, Hollywood stars, the whole shebang. But after that initial hype wore off, the player numbers just started to drop. So the team, empowered by that very same culture, didn't make small changes. No, they took a massive swing with a drastic overhaul they called the 2.0 update. But it wasn't enough. And the players? Oh, they noticed. For a lot of them, that big, bold pivot was the final nail in the coffin. They felt the changes were jarring, that they completely pushed away the original players, and basically destroyed what made the game fun. That risky creative swing had completely missed the mark. So what does this all mean? It means the Supercell culture doesn't actually guarantee success. What it does guarantee is that big risks will be taken, for better or for worse. The exact same autonomy that led to the triumph of Brawl Stars also led to the very public failure of Squadbusters. Okay, but failure is only really valuable if you learn something from it, right? And remember, Supercell's motto is to make new mistakes. So how did this very public flameout with Squadbusters actually change how they think about launching new games? So did this whole thing make them more cautious? Did they retreat back into their shell and go back to years of quiet development? The answer seems to be nope, not at all. But it definitely made them smarter. And that brings us to their next game, Moko. This is really the first test of all the lessons they learned from the whole Squadbusters experience, and you can see a clear change in their thinking. Instead of that massive global launch, they did something completely different this time. They pretty much skipped the traditional soft launch and went with an invite-only system. The whole idea was to get the game into the hands of the most dedicated fans first, to build this core group of players who would actually give them high-quality feedback. So you see, this isn't about stopping the risk-taking. It's an evolution. It's still about learning out in the open, but now it's about controlling the blast radius. You start with your true believers, you listen really carefully, and then you expand. It's a direct lesson from Squadbusters. Ultimately, the story of Supercell is just a fascinating look at this stuff. Their philosophy, this idea of embracing failure, can lead to these massive, unbelievable wins and to painful, very public losses. But in an industry that's getting safer and safer, maybe the most important thing is just having the courage to place the bet in the first place, learn from what happens, and then get ready to place the next one.